All right. Morning, friends. As Mindy said, I got a little sinus thing going on here, so if something really doesn't make sense, just like, I'm going to blame it on the cold, even if it was 100% me and I messed it up, okay? So my name is Obadiah. I'm the creative director here at Impact City. When I'm not here, I work for a bunch of different Christian radio stations, and that's where I was last week. I wasn't here last week. I'm sure you all missed me terribly, and you've just been counting the hours till we'd be together again. And I was in Nashville for this thing called the Christian Music Broadcasters University. 2 days with other broadcasters and then 2 days with university students. And so I was excited because, one, I was kind of looking forward to their energy and the things that they were going to have to say and some of the stuff we were doing. And I was looking forward to just that time, right? And so going into it, I looked a little something like this. So, that mostly looks like me, right? But what I didn't realize until I got there, the thing that I keep forgetting, is that to the students, this is what I actually look like. I have not gotten a hold of the fact that apparently I'm old now. I don't get it. So I talk to people like we're the same age and they get the look that's like, bro, you're old. And not only are you old, it was so funny, but so many of them are like, you really don't understand how this works? And I'm gonna teach you how to do your job. And I'm like, you're right, totally. Thanks for showing up. It was something. Yoda's looks, but none of the respect or wisdom. So I'm glad to be here. And if I look old to you, I'm totally used to it by now, all right? So today we are going to talk about something that's a little tougher. Today we are going to talk about praising God when things are not going the way they're supposed to. And when you leave, I don't want you to see me like this. Okay? Because we're going to talk about a hard thing. We're going to talk about some reality. But what does Eeyore always say? Doesn't matter anyway. Right? But what I actually want to say to you is, it does matter. Okay? You do matter. And even though we're dealing with something tough, this is not who we have to be to hold something tough and hold something God in our hands at the same time, okay? It's okay if we need to be that for a while, it's fine. I've had a lot of days where I really have got an Eeyore vibe going, but this is the person that I am with all his Yoda and Eeyore and everything in the middle, okay? So, last week we heard about power in being grateful in ordinary things, and this week we're gonna talk about being grateful in times that are not. So let's talk about John 16:33 and what Jesus has to say. I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. So we talk about peace first, and then Jesus delivers the bad news. In this world we are going to have trouble. Does Jesus say that if you do everything perfectly, you will have peace? He says you will have trouble. Does he say if you give generously to the Obadiah College Fund, you will have peace? No, he says you're going to have trouble. Where are we going to find our peace? Well, we're going to find it in him. He says to take heart. That essentially means get some courage, all right? Take heart. I have overcome the world. Have you overcome the world? He has, all right? So we're going to come up against trouble, and it's in him that we take heart because he has overcome the world. Today, we're going to talk about taking heart through praise. Now, for those of you that are more verbally astute, I want you to know that I'm going to use the word praise, worship, and thanksgiving interchangeably. And my philosophy professor would have made a case for defining each one individually and using them very specifically. This is not that class. So When you hear me talking about them, I'm talking about the same things. Just going to God and saying thanks, okay? That's essentially what we're going to be talking about. Today, our text is Psalm 42. And I know, you're like, Obadiah, you talked about Psalm 42 the last time you preached. Just kidding. Nobody remembers what you preached about, okay? So let's talk about Psalm 42 again. Now, something that I learned about Psalm 42 is I always thought that this was a Psalm of David. But what I have learned is we don't know. We have no idea who wrote Psalm 42. Most of the time in the beginning, it'll say Psalm whatever, a Psalm of, and it will say who wrote it. But in this particular case, we don't know who wrote it, and there are two possibilities, and I want us to talk about both of them before we read the psalm, okay? Possibility number one is that it is David. Some of you probably know who David is, king of Israel, whatever, but let me just give you some background just in case you don't know, okay? David is the son of a guy named Jesse. He's a shepherd. That's the crap job, okay? Shepherds were not well regarded. We think they are because we have the whole Bible and we're like, oh, Jesus is the good shepherd, so like shepherd is the best. It's not the best, okay? It's not. Shepherd was one of the worst jobs. And so they gave it to the littlest kid in the family because birth order was a big deal, so who cares about David, right? So David, this prophet Samuel shows up at David's house, and they're going to like pick a new king. That's what God has told Samuel. And all the older brothers come through, and none of them get picked. And finally, he's like, do you have any other kids? And they're like, yeah, David. He's out watching the sheep. Who cares, right? They bring him in, and that's where we hear this phrase that maybe you've heard before, that people look on the outside, but God looks on the heart. So God saw something in David and anointed him to be king. And I'll tell you at this point, like his trajectory kind of starts to change. You guys heard the story of David and Goliath? So check this. David goes out and he defeats a giant. He's just a kid. Nobody else is willing to go out and face the giant. He's willing to do it. And as a result, Israel has a major, massive military victory. Now, it's not very often that you can point to one guy and be like, he was the one that made this happen. But in this particular case, they could. And his life changes. He goes from being the shepherd to living in the palace. All right? He goes to the crap job to giving other people the crap job. Like, he gets to do kind of what he wants, right? And it's not just that. The Bible says that he was really good looking and he was a musician. You know how it is. You know how it is. Those musicians are complicated. All those feelings writing their songs. Well, the Bible says the girls wrote songs about him. That's worse. It's not enough that they're swooning over his songs. They're writing songs about how great he is. It's like Taylor Swift, but more cheerful, right? So all of that's going on, and he starts playing his music for the king, and he starts leading worship, and he starts leading battles, and he just gets more and more famous as time goes on. And do you know what happens? The king can't stand it. They still feel like that jealousy you had over the guitar playing guy in college. The king has that, except he's king, and he's like, this guy's out of here. So David goes from being on this incredible trajectory that makes total sense after he was anointed to going from the palace to living back out in the fields where he was, except now he's being hunted. They want to kill him. So in reality, things are worse than they were before. At least when he was a kid, all he had to worry about were lions and bears. Now he's got armed people that are on the hunt for him, okay? That is one possibility of the backdrop of this psalm. There is another possibility, all right? So, Israel. This is a complicated story. I'm going to keep it super short, okay? Babylon, another country, invades Israel at some point. They sack Jerusalem. They trash it. And they carry off the sons and daughters, basically the best of the best. They carry them off to Babylon, and they become Babylonians. That's what they're trying to do. And so these people that got carried off to Babylon, they might have written this song. And just to give you some cultural context, all of us, for the most part, are used to America being like super awesome, and there's just an expectation that we're super awesome all the time. And then this would be like Russia showing up, laying waste to everything, and taking your kids and they're slaves now. And it's worse. They're making them Russians. That's the closest thing I can come up with. Or pick another country that you want to, but I grew up in the 80s, so I picked Russia, okay? So that's the state of the people that are writing this psalm. Things were not going the way they were supposed to go. And you know what they did? They wrote a song about it. Seriously, they did. And here's the song. We're going to read Psalm 42. All right, we're going to read the whole thing. A white-tailed deer drinks from the creek. I want to drink God, deep draughts of God. I'm thirsty for God alive. I wonder, will I ever make it, arrive and drink in God's presence? I'm on a diet of tears. Tears for breakfast, tears for supper. Sounds like a emo country song, right? Like a really good one. See, just kidding, there's no good country songs. Okay. And I stand by that. All day long, people knock at my door, pestering. Where is this God of yours? I mean, it's not enough that things are going bad. People are coming over to mock him. Ouch, right? These are the things I go over and over, emptying out the pockets of my life. I was always at the head of the worshiping crowd, right out front, leading them all, eager to arrive and worship, shouting praises, singing thanksgiving, celebrating all of us God's feast. So what's he doing? He's going, hey, I used to like go to church and stuff, and I used to totally have my life together. What happened? He's looking back. What happened? How did I end up here? It was so different. Things were better. Why? Why are you down in the dumps, dear soul? Don't just bore us, get to the chorus. That's what this is. We'll come back to it. Why are you crying the blues? Fix my eyes on God. Soon I'll be praising again. He puts a smile on my face. He's my God. When my soul is in the dumps, I rehearse everything I know of you. That's actually what I talked about a couple weeks ago, however long ago, in Psalm 42. This right here, I love this. When I'm down in the dumps, I rehearse everything I know of you. I go over it and over it. From Jordan's depths to Hermon's heights, including Mount Mizar, chaos calls to chaos to the tune of whitewater rapids. Your breaking surf, your thundering breakers crash and crush me. Then God promises to love me all day. Sing songs all through the night. My life is God's prayer. Sometimes I ask God, my rock-solid God, why did you let me down? I know. Every time I read it, I am always like, I don't know if we should be putting that in the Bible, guy. But there it is. Why am I walking around in tears, harassed by enemies? They're out for the kill, these tormentors with their obscenities, taunting day after day. Where is this God of yours? Why are you down in the dumps, dear soul? Back to the chorus, right? Why are you crying the blues? Fix my eyes on God. Soon I'll be praising again. He puts a smile on my face. He's my God. There's progression there, all right? Fixing eyes on God, praising, smile. I don't think it's a forced progression. I think it is I fix my eyes on God, eventually the praise comes, eventually the smile comes. The thing about Psalm 42 that I think is powerful is it doesn't make the case for praising God in hard times by making the case. The psalm does not say, you better thank God. You better. Instead, it just does it. So there is an assumption in the author that, of course, things are tough, but I'm going to go take this to God. That's the case it makes through its assumption. Now, going back to what Jesus said, he said when we had trouble, to take heart. So what we are going to do is I want us to talk a little bit about what it looks like to praise God as a way to take heart in hard times, okay? I want to talk about what it is. I want to talk about what it isn't. And I want us to talk about what it looks like to do that, okay? So let's start with my first point. Honesty is important. What do we not find in Psalm 42? Dear God, things are going great now. What a wonderful day I'm having. No, we don't, do we? We don't find, God, thank you so much that those people are hunting me down to kill me. It's the best. Do we? It's not there. We find a frank appraisal of the situation. We find an honest outpouring of where we are, and we begin to find that progression where they start to focus on God, which we'll talk about some more. But I gotta get this across to us, friends. We have got to get a hold of this. God does not ask us to pretend. I've had people tell me that I need to pretend. I'm sick. Don't say you're sick. Say you're healed. Okay, I'm sick, bro. Like, all right, pretend. No, you don't have to pretend. You can be real about where you are with God, period. Okay? You can be honest with him. And that honesty might come out as anger. Where were you, God? Why did you abandon me? Why did you leave me? And again, we get uncomfortable with that, all right? And I'll talk some more about it. But first, when I think about, this is so dumb, but guys, this is me, so here we go. When I think about pouring everything out to God, I think about Star Trek First Contact. And I think about this scene where Captain Picard is quoting Melville. And I think we have to watch it. So let's see it. I didn't read it either, which is why when I think of Moby Dick, I think of Captain Picard quoting it in the ready room there, okay? What did he say? He piled upon the whale's white hump the sum rage of something, something, something. If his chest had been a cannon, he'd have shot his heart upon it. And that's my challenge to you with how you feel when you deal with God. Let your chest be a cannon. Shoot your heart. Give God him all of it, okay? You don't have to hold anything back, and here's why. Let's look at Matthew 11:38. Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. I think part of us getting rest is in that space of honesty, is that we can unload the thing that we are heavy laden with. That thing that we have labored with. This is our chance to lay it down. Not some of it. We do not have to pretend that we're okay with God, okay? You can be completely honest. I skipped one of my points, but it fits here. God is your safe space. Okay? People talk about this is a safe space. I want to create a safe space. I want to whatever. There's no safer space with who you are than at the feet of Jesus, period. Okay? Don't hold on to anything. Just give it all to him, okay? In honesty. Number 2, moving along. No more Captain Picard, and we're poorer because of it. This is not one more thing to do. You ever feel that way? You log into the internet and they're like, 5 ways to be a better parent. 5 ways to get gains without gaining weight. five ways to be a better this, 10 ways to this, 3 ways to that. One simple trick, right? But, so you click it and you read it and you're like, I want to get gains. I want to lose weight. I want to be a better parent. I want to, whatever it is that you want. You read it and you're like, these are great, but it just turns into a list of things that you have to do. And then pretty soon, you know what that list becomes? It becomes a list of the things that you're not doing. And then it becomes a way for you to feel bad about yourself because there's all these extra things that have been piled on that you're not doing right now. Well, that's not what this is. Being thankful to God is a gift that you can give yourself in hard times. God does not need your praise. What? God doesn't need your praise, all right? When you and I experience pain, people talk about, what is it? When you're being very present. Mindfulness, right? Nothing will create mindfulness in your life like pain will. It's shocking. Physical pain, everything else goes away. That's the only thing you're thinking about. Emotional pain can be the same way. Pain comes, and that is all there is. That's your whole reality, that thing that hurts. Here's something that praise enables us to do. Praise gives us an opportunity to look at a reality that is not the reality that's directly in front of us. All right? Praise, what do we see in Psalm 42? I turn my eyes towards God. We start to look at something other than the thing in front of us. Remember, we don't have to lie to God about it. We're not pretending it's not there. We're not whatever. We are just intentionally, for a little while, paying attention to God and not the thing. And then the praise begins to follow. And then what happens? A smile. There's a little bit of relief in this. When I talk to you about taking heart through praise, I am telling you a way to deal with bad times. I am not giving you something to feel bad about yourself for, okay? This praise through bad times is going to be a scavenger hunt. Let's take a look at this photo. Let's see. Anybody know who that is? Toby Mac. The guy standing next to him is his son, True. True died of a drug overdose after a concert where he was the headlining act. Just one night. He just went home, used, died. They found him. It's awful. That's a great example of things not going the way they're supposed to go, especially from Toby Mac's point of view. That guy has propped up the Christian music industry for well on 30 years, This guy deserves some special consideration, and yet here he is. So, he did what the author of Psalm 42 did. He wrote a song. In fact, he's got a whole album about it. It's called Life After Death. You can listen to it if you want. One of the songs on that album is called The Goodness by a guy he's on there with called Blessing Offer. And that song is all about how the goodness of God keeps weirdly surprising him in places where he's not expecting it. One of the lines is that it's like flowers in Detroit, which I think is a little rough on Detroit, to be honest with you. I'm just like, everybody in Detroit is like, Toby Mac, get out. But the idea is, a heavily urban environment. You expect to see concrete, you expect to see another building, and then you see flowers. What are those doing there? It's the surprise of God's goodness. So you and I go on a scavenger hunt looking for God's goodness. But how? How do you do that? I mean, it's one thing to sit in here on a Sunday morning and blah, blah, blah. But what about in the week? How do you do it? Truth be told, it's not super complicated. It's really not. It's as simple as thanking God for those flowers when that thing shows up. Hey, God, the sunrise was beautiful. You're such an artist. God, thank you for air. Just finding something to be thankful for. You can intentionally journal about a time when God was there for you. Something, And I mean, that goes back to Psalm 42 again, rehearsing the things I know about you. Just sitting down and writing some of that stuff out. You can list things about God that you love. Be on the scavenger hunt. Listen to some music and get in agreement with it. I think this is particularly powerful because, like I said, I think that one of the hard things is that when there's pain in front of you, it's so all-consuming. Music is weird. Like, they find that music kind of almost bypasses your brain and kind of moves into your emotions and your heart in an amazing way. So you find some music and you get in agreement with it. What that means is simply what you do here on Sunday morning. The idea is when the team is leading us, we're not just singing songs to pass the time till Obadiah the Great speaks to us, right? No, what are we doing? We are praising God. We're using their words to direct our heart towards God. And listen, if you can't find music you like, come and talk to me. I don't really like, don't tell me why I said this, but like there's a lot of stuff I don't like. I really like hip hop. So I listen to Christian hip hop all the time, and it's ministered to me so much. You just wouldn't believe how God has talked to me through that music and how it's helped me. Last but not least, let's talk about it. Our circumstances may not change. This is the other thing that's hard, is that you hear this on a Sunday morning, you desperately want things to change, and I totally get it. And so you're like, all right, I'm going to do this on Monday, and then on Tuesday, I'm going to wake up and it's going to be all different. Because on some level, and I get it, listen, God is so kind and loving, so like I'm not trying to beat up on you. I'm just telling you from my experience that I have tried to manipulate God to get him to do what I wanted him to do. So like a kid that wants you to do something, I'm like, I'll be nice. No, you do for me, right? And I've done that. And the reality of it is you may do this, and your circumstances may not change. David's circumstances didn't change for a long time. He was hunted for a long time. He eventually became king. That's better. Then he had a kid that led an open rebellion against him. Not so good, right? Israel goes back hundreds of years later. And look at their history. It's so up and down, right? It's wild. Our circumstances may not change, but we will, okay? That's a hard one because nobody's interested in that. I've told God that. I'm like, I don't want this thing where I change and the stuff doesn't change. I want you to change the thing. Come on. But this is reality, that we have started following God, and God is willing to come into our heart and change us if we'll let him. He gives us peace day to day, moment to moment, to deal with the thing. I actually read an article that essentially talked about how worship, they said 7 to 10 minutes a day, literally changes your brain. The amygdala, that like if you deal with trauma that fires and puts you in fight or flight really fast, they actually found that it lowers the activation rate of the amygdala in your brain. So over time, you literally will not feel some of the things that you're feeling. Worship does that. It's wild, but they've done the study. So here's what I want to do. I want us to take some time and listen to a song, okay? I'm actually going to ask the prayer team to come up right now. This is not their normal time, but I'm going to play a song for you by a band called Ren Collective. And this song is called Hallelujah Anyway. And if you are watching on the stream right now, the sound of this video is going to go away. And there is a link in the comments or in the video description that you can click, and you can go off and listen to this song on YouTube. But the thing that I want to get across to you more than anything is this. God is so kind. You just wouldn't believe it. He's so kind. But I can only tell you about it so much, okay? I can't. You have to go off and experience it for yourself. You have to go to the well. You have to go to Jesus, and you have to lay the stuff at his feet, and you have to invite him in, and you have to experience it for yourself. I can't experience it for you. You can experience some vicarious, cathartic release through me preaching to you about it, but the real stuff, the good stuff, you can only get directly from the source, not from me. not from Mindy, not from Justin, not from Ron, not from anybody else that's up here leading worship. You have got to go to the source. And so if you are hurting this morning, I want to give you a chance to go to the source while this song plays, okay? So prayer team, please be ready. And just one more thing, please, there's no shame in needing prayer. Where does that come from? Do you think God, where would shame come from? It would come from ourselves, or it would come from the enemy. God is not going to be like, oh, here they come. All right. Now, no, that's not the way it works, right? So let's take some time. Okay, we're going to continue kind of with an attitude of prayer. And I just want to say that if you're somebody who you don't actually know Jesus, sometimes we think that the choice is if we go find Jesus, then we're going to go through really hard times. But if we don't, then we don't have any hard times. It's not it. The choice is, do I want to go through hard times with God, or do I want to go through hard times without him? That's the actual choice. And so if you're saying, hey, I don't even know God, I want some help, I'm just going to ask us to bow our heads right now. And right now you can just say, Jesus, I want you. I want you to come into my life. I want you to fill me with your spirit. I want you to forgive me. I want you to set me free. And I want you to show me how to live. I need help. Awesome. Believe me when I say that God heard that prayer. And I want you to go tell somebody today, whether you come tell the prayer team or tell somebody out at the worship or the New Here location or something, tell somebody that you took a step towards Jesus today, okay? Now let me pray for you. Father, I pray where it's possible that circumstances would change. I pray that people that need healing would get healing, and I pray that needs would be met, and that's the first thing I'm asking you for, is that there would be some change. But God, I know too that for some of us, the only way out is through. And I pray that you would help us to remember to reach out and take your hand as we walk through. And God, where we need to change, that you would change us. And that where we need to take a step, you would show us the step to take. God, I pray your kindness and your love would pour out on hurting people today in a way that makes no sense. Your peace would guard their hearts and minds. And I ask all this, Jesus, in your name. Amen.